Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to do my review of WrestleMania 12. Starting off the evening, we go to our first match of the night. It is Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader versus Yokozuna, Ahmed Johnson, and Jake the Snake Roberts. The match itself, it was a good opening matchup for WrestleMania 12. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Yokozuna's team trying to keep the pace of the match. Ahmed Johnson hits a power slam on Bulldog. Owen then hits an enziguri on Ahmed Johnson. Jake then hits a clothesline on Owen Hart. Bulldog then hits a power slam on Jake for a near fall. Jake gets up, hits a DDT on Owen Hart, but Vader ultimately hits his signature Vader bomb on Jake the Snake Roberts. Pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader. Hats off to Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is Roddy Piper versus Goldust in a Hollywood backlot brawl. I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Piper and Goldust, with Piper keeping the pace of the match. Goldust, towards the end of the match, ultimately gets in his vehicle and takes off. Piper then gets in his vehicle and chases after Goldust. And the match kind of ends at that point. So, again, a couple things I'm going to say about this matchup. Number one, it was, like I said, an okay match, but I'm not a really big fan of the gimmick matches, and this just goes to show you why. Because it was just too chaotic. I didn't understand it. I didn't know why Piper and Goldust were even having any kind of match to begin with. And to be honest with you, there really wasn't a match. It was a parking lot brawl. Goldust ended up getting in his vehicle and taking off, and then Piper got in a Ford Bronco and then chased after Goldust in his vehicle. So there really wasn't a match. And again, I'm just not a big fan of the, gimmick matches, to be honest with you, but, it is what it is. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Savio Vega versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I thought this was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Vega and Austin, with Austin keeping the pace of the match. But Austin ultimately applies the $1 Million Dream on Savio Vega, and your winner of the match by submission is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, a couple things about this matchup that I'm just going to say. Number one, some people may be very confused on why Stone Cold Steve Austin did not use the stunner to finish Vega, and why did he apply the $1 Million Dream? Well, at one point in Steve Austin's early career in WWE, he was known as the Ringmaster, and obviously he wasn't known of the Ringmaster in this match, but he was also being managed by none other than the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So it looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin was allowed to use the $1 Million Dream due to the fact that Ted DiBiase was his manager at one point in his career. But hats off to Austin for getting the win in that match over Savio Vega. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Ultimate Warrior versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Warrior and Helmsley, with Helmsley keeping the pace of the match. Helmsley hits a pedigree on the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior gets up, hits a shoulder tackle on Hunter Hearst Helmsley, as well as a press slam, and Warrior ultimately hits a splash on Helmsley, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is the Ultimate Warrior. Hats off to the Ultimate Warrior for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is Diesel versus The Undertaker. I thought this was a relatively good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Diesel and Taker, with Diesel keeping the pace of the match. Diesel and Undertaker both exchange in the middle of the ring, but Undertaker ultimately hits a tombstone on Diesel, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is The Undertaker. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of WrestleMania 12. It is Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart for the WWE Championship in an Iron Man match. I thought this was a fantastic match. Back and forth matchup between Michaels and Bret Hart, with Michaels keeping the pace of the match. Bret, towards the end, applies a sharpshooter on Shawn Michaels, but Shawn does not tap out. Match goes into overtime. Bret gets upset about it. Gorilla Monsoon is telling him to come back to the ring, that the match has to continue. The match continues, and Shawn quickly hits a sweet chin music on Bret Hart, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and at that time, new WWE Champion, is Shawn Michaels. A couple of things I'm going to say about WrestleMania 12, man, before I get out of here. Number one, this was a decent WrestleMania. This definitely was not the best WrestleMania, but by far was not the worst WrestleMania, man. There was a lot of notable matches on this card. Number one, the opening matchup. I thought it was a really good match, man. I mean, having Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader teaming up against Yokozuna, Ahmed Johnson and Jake Roberts. I thought it was a relatively good match. Couple matches I could have done without. I mean, number one, the Piper versus Goldust match, the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. I could have done without it, man. And I already stated why I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of the gimmick matches. And this match didn't really do anything. Yeah, they came back to the arena and they had a little bit of a scuffle, but it really wasn't a match. And to be honest with you, I don't know why Piper and Goldust were even having a storyline at this particular time. I have no idea. But the match itself was very lackadaisical, in my honest opinion. Savio Vega versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was a good, decent match. I also don't understand why Savio Vega was getting heavily pushed back in the day. I just, to me, there was nothing special about Savio Vega for him to be, a high caliber talent, in my honest opinion. And I'm not saying the guy can't wrestle. There's just no build around Savio Vega, but Vince McMahon continuously kept booking him in top matches. I don't understand. I know we had that great run in King of the Ring. I understand that, but they still continue to book Savio Vega at a really high level in WWE at that time, and I didn't understand it. The other thing about that match, it was also very cool to see Ted DiBiase being the manager of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we all know what kind of career he had throughout his career. Man, it was absolutely legendary career that Stone Cold Steve Austin had with WWE, 100%. The other match I kind of could have done without is Ultimate Warrior versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I don't know why this match was particularly booked, but I also feel like this was a part of time where maybe Vince felt like he owed Ultimate Warrior something, or I don't know, but I felt like Ultimate Warrior's time in WWE was, number one, severely underrated, but he was definitely underused, and I feel like at this particular time, there was no reason for Ultimate Warrior to be there. That time, and that era of professional wrestling in WWE was coming to an end. I mean, they were going into the new era, the new generation with Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Goldust. There really was no Diesel, Razor. There was no need to go back in time. Let's get Ultimate Warrior to go up against Triple H. I just don't see the reason why they did that. Diesel versus The Undertaker was a fantastic match, and obviously the main event, the Iron Man match between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart for the WWE Championship. I mean, what more can I say, man? These guys, two absolute legends, 100%. And honestly, two of the biggest rivals in professional wrestling. I mean, going back from the Montreal Screwjob and what happened between Shawn and Bret, Vince McMahon being involved. I mean, those two, you could have a match, a 2-hour match if you want to, and people are going to watch it because the amount of athletic ability, the amount of skill they have in that ring. People can watch Bret versus Shawn Michaels every single day for the rest of their life, and I'm pretty sure they'll be severely happy. Bret Hart, I mean, the guy is a pure definition of a wrestler, in my honest opinion. And I'm not taking anything away from Shawn Michaels. I do think Shawn Michaels is the best in-ring performer WWE has ever had, hands down. But Bret Hart, as far as being the top wrestler, I think Bret Hart, till this day, is one of the best, if not the best wrestler WWE has ever had, ever, in my honest opinion. And I might be a little biased when I say that, but I think Bret Hart, he is the pure definition of a pro wrestler, in my honest opinion. Now, yeah, obviously, maybe his promos are not the greatest. I'm talking about in-ring ability as a wrestler. Bret Hart has all the intangibles to be that, what we all know of Bret Hart being, and giving the fans great matches. I mean, how many matches can you honestly count on your hand that Bret Hart has had with another athlete, another wrestler, another competitor, that he is actually physically injured? Not many, if not at all, because Bret knows how to wrestle. And he's going to give the fans a fantastic match. And towards, obviously, the end of his WWE run, him and Vince having problems in the Montreal Screwjob, but nobody can take away the athletic ability of what Bret Hart can do in that ring. When he's in that ring, man, that's his house, in my honest opinion. And I don't think there's many arguments against that. Bret Hart is an absolute legend and the pure definition of a professional wrestler, hands down. But all in all, I mean, if I had to give WrestleMania 12 a rating from 1 out of 10, man, I'm going to give it a solid probably 6, 6.5. And the reason why is because mainly the main event and Diesel versus Undertaker. That's the main reason why it's getting a 6.5 at best, because the Iron Man match was absolutely legendary. It really put Shawn's career more, it definitely showcased him as Mr. WrestleMania, in my honest opinion. 2, Diesel versus Undertaker, absolutely awesome match. And this was just continuing Undertaker's streak. I mean, Diesel, at that time, Diesel was one of the top guys for WWE, as well as Razor Ramon, as well as Shawn Michaels, as well as Bret Hart. This was just a fantastic match, man. But those two matches alone is the main reason why I'm giving WrestleMania 12 a solid 6.5 at best. But this is my review of WrestleMania 12. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.